Hey everybody, how's it going? Brian here with My Comic Universe.
And Steve here with My Comic Universe.
And today, Steve and I are going to talk to everybody about one of our favorite movies of all time,
Blade Runner.
Okay, so Steve, first off, Blade Runner. I've loved this film. I mean, even as a kid, I've seen it a couple of times and I've enjoyed it. What do you think of it? How do you like the film so far? I mean, overall.
It's a great film. It's definitely ahead of its time. It's very cutting edge. And it definitely, really shaped the sci-fi genre, and it's been a major influence on a lot of filmmakers today. So
Definitely.
It's definitely a movie you gotta see at least once in your lifetime for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely do. Yeah, it's considered to be one of the most elaborate production designs ever created for a science fiction film. So, and a lot of films base their production design off of that as well.
That's not surprising, yeah.
So, Steve, what's Blade Runner about, actually?
So, Blade Runner is about a dystopian future set in Los Angeles in the year 2019.
Okay.
And basically, in this future, we have the powerful Tyrell Corporation who manufactures replicants, which are basically androids that are indistinguishable from humans, adult humans. And these androids are used to work on off-world colonies.
Interesting.
Yeah, and basically, when one of these replicants decides to escape and they try to make their way back to Earth, we have our Blade Runners who hunt them down and retire them, which is just a nice way of saying kill them, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, overall, I gotta say we did enjoy the film. It's a great film. It was distributed by Warner Brothers in 1982, correct?
That's right. It was made in 1982. It was directed by Ridley Scott, and it also had a budget of $28 million, and it also made a box office of $33.8 million, so it definitely made its money back.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
And it did gain a bit of a cult following as the years progressed, definitely. And Warner Brothers went ahead and released several different cuts, including a director's cut and an additional final cut, which I believe was also done by Ridley Scott as well. So definitely check that out. That's on the extras on the Blu-ray for the 30th anniversary edition of Blade Runner. Now, we got to talk about what Blade Runner's based off of. Definitely got to mention this.
That's right. So it's based off of a book by Philip K. Dick called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? It was written in 1968, so if you haven't read the book, definitely go out and grab yourself a copy as well.
Yeah, I got mine on my Amazon wish list, so definitely going to be picking that up because I'm looking for, just a novel to read or even an eclectic mix of short stories would be nice right around now. So overall, we were talking about the fact that Blade Runner is about these Blade Runners. So let's talk about our main character, Deckard. Okay,
yes.
Played by Harrison Ford. So Deckard is our Blade Runner, and as you were saying, Steve, earlier, what is a Blade Runner?
So basically, they're special police operatives that have a very specific task assigned to them. It's their task to search for and hunt down all of the replicants that have escaped from the off-world colonies that they were sent to. So whenever they escape and make their way back to Earth, we have a Blade Runner that goes out, tracks them down, and retires them.
Interesting. Bounty hunters, practically.
Essentially, bounty hunters, yes.
So, but we do see that Deckard is a very complex character, though. We do see a lot of emotions growing in him as his character progresses.
Right.
He is the classic noir character or neo-noir character just because of all the little throws and the little nuances that are revolving around his character. He's tasked with a job he doesn't want. He takes it on. He falls in love with this femme fatale character and Rachel, who we're going to get into in a few minutes here. And it just really, really brings out that story. I love a good detective novel. I love a good detective film. And this is one of those films that brings out the true side of a detective.
Absolutely.
So.
And when we first meet Deckard, he's no longer working as a Blade Runner. He's basically a burnt-out LA cop who, he's done with his days of, hunting down replicants.
Right. But he does get called out of retirement. He gets found out by Lieutenant Gaff, played by Edward James Olmos.
That's right. Gaff,
Right.
in the beginning of the film, he finds Deckard, he detains him and brings him back to his former supervisor, Bryant.
So Gaff takes him to Bryant. Bryant gives him the task to find these replicants, basically.
Yes, we've got 4 escaped replicants. They're Nexus 6 replicants. They hijacked a spaceship and they've made their way back to Earth because they want to find their maker. Because they realize that they're running out of life. The Nexus 6 replicants only have a 4-year lifespan, so they want to find their maker in order to force him to extend their lives.
All right. And then under these circumstances, then when they go to meet this maker, who is Dr. Tyrell, correct?
Dr. Tyrell,
So
that's right.
Dr. Tyrell and the Tyrell Corporation are the ones who created the replicants.
Exactly.
Okay, so and now the replicants are seeking out kind of their father, their godlike creator.
Essentially.
Yeah, that's
Essentially,
cool.
Yeah, so there's a
It's
lot
cool
of
concept.
There's a lot of existential elements to the film as well.
It seems
When
that
you-
way.
when you look at the the differences between replicants and humans and just how similar they can be, even though they're also very different as well.
Right, but when when Deckard does take on the case, he does go to the Tyrell Corporation because that's
that's-
where he needs to go administer a test on our femme fatale character Rachel, where he actually
right.
meets her. Right.
Yes.
And what was the name of the test again? I can't.
It's the Voight-Kampff test.
The Voight-Kampff test. That's right.
So essentially, we first see this test being administered in the very beginning of the film. We're introduced to our first escaped replicant, Leon,
Right.
and he's being interviewed by a Blade Runner named Holden.
That's
and
correct.
He asks him a series of questions to gauge his emotional responses to determine whether or not he's human or android.
Yeah, and that's right. And then Leon kind of goes a
Leon,
little
yeah,
crazy and
goes a
takes him
little-
out, right?
Goes a little haywire. Holden asks him about his mother, I believe, and in response, he just pulls out a gun and just guns him down. I guess that was
interesting.
a sensitive subject for Leon there.
Yeah, I wonder if Ridley Scott was trying to tackle or scratch the surface on an Oedipal complex there by just like referencing that kind of a thing within an interrogation of somebody else, you know. But it does bring up a good point that he does administer the test to Leon, and then he re-administers the test to Rachel, and
right.
Rachel is like the love interest, basically.
Rachel's the love interest. She is also a replicant, but she's a more advanced experimental replicant that actually believes she's human. And she's even been given false memories to convince her that she grew up as a child. And these are actually Dr. Tyrell's niece's memories that have been implanted into her memory.
Right. Yeah.
So-
I found that to be very touching to know that he was doing that, but at the same time, it seems a little odd. Very, very different kind of thing. Then again, this is the future. I mean, it's a dystopian. I mean,
Yeah.
people will do whatever it takes, I guess, to keep those people, those loved ones' memories alive, I guess.
Yes, definitely.
So,
definitely.
but he administers the test to Rachel. We get to meet her,
Mm-hmm.
and he does know that she is a replicant.
Basically. So he goes there because he wants to make sure that the Voight-Kampff test actually works on the Nexus 6 models.
Right.
So that's why he goes to the Tyrell Corporation and administers the test on Rachel. And when he's administering the test, it actually takes much longer than normal because of the fact that she is more advanced and even believes that she's a human being.
Now, at the same time, what's going on in Los Angeles 2019,
All right.
we still got Leon on the loose.
We've got
we
Leon.
got
have the
Roy
other-
and Pris, the other two that we are going to talk about. Roy and Pris
And
in the
Zora.
film. And Zora. Oh my
Also
God,
got
I almost
Zora.
forgot about
These
Zora.
are 4 escaped fugitive replicants.
They're the 4 out of the 6. Remember, so you know, 2 of them didn't make it to Earth, but the other 4 did escape. The next character that we have is Leon. And Leon's the one who kicked off this whole investigation.
That's right.
So since he gunned down our original Blade Runner who was giving him the examination, that was where Deckard decided, got his first clue, his first tip on where to start this investigation.
Yep.
So he goes to his apartment. He goes to Leon's apartment. And when he's in Leon's apartment, he finds a synthetic snake skin. And it's like a computer made or like a fake snake.
It's a fake.
It's a fake
skin,
snake.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's property to Zora, our other replicant who's on the run as well. And Zora basically is what? She's an exotic dancer, right?
She's an exotic dancer. She works at Taffy's bar, and as you mentioned, she has a pet snake that she integrates into her performance. And while Deckard was searching through Leon's apartment for clues, he found the synthetic snake scale, which leads him to Taffy's bar.
Yes.
And that's where he has his confrontation with Zora.
With Zora, and we have the iconic chase scene through the streets where Deckard's chasing her around, and he finally guns her down in the streets.
That's right.
It's a very iconic scene. A lot of people reference back to that chase scene for just numerous reasons. The low lighting, the street settings, the darkness outside and everything. Very, very noir-esque. So basically, we're down a replicant now.
We're down a replicant.
But all of a sudden, guess who pops out of the darkness? Leon. And he basically attacks Deckard.
He goes after Deckard because he's pissed
Yeah.
about what he just did to Zora. So Deckard is a little outmatched on this one. And it turns out to be Rachel that saves the day.
Right.
She finds Deckard's gun and does away with Leon and saves Deckard, basically.
So we see some of that relationship between Deckard and Rachel. It's starting to really build up. She's starting to trust in Deckard.
Right.
So, and she probably thinks he's her only hope, basically.
And in the same way, too, Deckard is also starting to question his own viewpoints on replicants themselves because of his feelings for Rachel.
Very true.
So-
Now, our next character I kind of want to mention, he isn't really a replicant, but he does help assist the replicants while they're on the run in Los Angeles. The character, of course, is Sebastian.
Sebastian, that's right.
And it's really cool with his character. He kind of reminds me of Toyman from the DC comic universe. He's a very intelligent guy. He's got his own little toy armada that kind of protects him and takes care of him as well.
He's got his own little creations that basically
Exactly.
are all over his apartment.
Yeah, and some of them are pretty creepy looking, you know.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
Very, very lifelike, and it's expected, considering he's very involved in the creation of the replicants themselves.
Exactly. So,
He's basically a gifted genetic designer that works very closely with Eldon Tyrell, the head of the Tyrell
the head of the
Corporation.
Tyrell Corporation. They're even playing this very elongated game of chess, right?
That's
Where
right.
it's just been going on for years and years, but because you can imagine two intelligent people like that, they could play for years. I would
They're
imagine.
probably very evenly matched with one another.
Very evenly matched. So, but it does lead us to that scene where we do get to meet Pris. We meet Roy. These are our last two replicants, and Pris is played by Daryl Hannah.
That's right, Daryl Hannah.
Splash, everybody.
She's a basic pleasure model, and she's also Roy's girlfriend.
Yeah.
She has the task of befriending Sebastian so that they can gain access to Tyrell.
Exactly. So, and then of course Roy is the leader of all of the replicants, and of
Yes.
course he's the kind of alpha in all of this.
He's the leader. He's also our main antagonist. He's
Yes.
a highly intelligent combat model, which makes him the most dangerous of the four escaped replicants.
Definitely. And then it's very interesting. So we do get to see creation meeting creator in this.
That's right.
The father meets the son kind of moment when Sebastian takes Pris and or just takes
Roy.
Roy
Yeah.
to meet with Tyrell rather, and basically he wants to extend his life because his life is shortened because he has a rare disease or something,
That's
or
right,
a genetic glitch within his system.
So once Roy shows up on the scene and he meets back up with Pris at Sebastian's apartment, Sebastian basically reveals to the two of them that they have Methuselah syndrome. It's a genetic premature aging disorder that's going to shorten their lives even further.
Oh, right.
So once Roy shows up on the scene, he takes Sebastian, and they both go to Tyrell's secure penthouse. And that's where we have that meeting of, creator and created. visit Dr. Tyrell, he returns back to Sebastian's apartment
Yeah.
just in time to find Deckard killing Pris.
Yeah, and she has that convulsion on the floor,
Yes,
basically,
yes,
and
exactly.
it's very, very realistic. I'm wondering if Daryl Hannah did that herself, or if that was just kind of like something that they did with like animatronics
perhaps.
later
I
on.
wouldn't be surprised if it was her.
Yeah.
Taking the lead there.
Definitely.
But basically, once Roy gets back, he sees that Pris has been killed by Deckard.
Right.
And this leads us to the final battle between Deckard and Roy.
And then we get that iconic "Tears in the Rain" monologue scene,
yes,
right?
we do. Yeah,
Awesome.
Just as Roy is running out of life, he gives this very epic monologue that's been quoted, and it's basically become a very big part of pop culture today. And the quote is essentially about his memories being lost like tears in the rain.
Yeah, very interesting.
Very
and then, of
interesting.
course, the what was the disease again? I'm trying to remember
It
that.
was Methuselah syndrome.
Methuselah syndrome sinks in, and he starts to slowly fade away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, and we have that iconic moment where he releases the dove, and the symbolization that he's freeing his soul, basically.
Exactly.
So, definitely a cool one. But 35 years later, we finally get a sequel
Finally get the sequel.
to Blade Runner. Blade Runner 2049.
That's right.
It's going to be great. So, what do you think? What are you thinking about this film so far,
It
Steve?
looks great. I'm very excited to go out and see it.
I am too. I'm
yeah.
really, really stoked. I've been waiting a long time to see this film.
We've got a really great cast.
Definitely. But so, what's the premise kind of following this sequel?
So the premise is basically that we have a new Blade Runner on the scene, a younger cop named Officer K, played by Ryan Gosling, and through a series of events, he stumbles upon a long-buried secret that forces him to seek out Rick Deckard's help. And at this point in the story, Deckard's been missing for 30 years. So basically, since the events of the last film, up until this film, he's been on the run.
This will be very interesting, and they're bringing back a lot of great actors and actresses.
Yes.
We've got Harrison Ford coming back as Deckard. We've got Rachel, Sean Young coming back as Rachel.
We've got Edward James Olmos coming back as
Edward-
Gaff.
Yeah, that's going to be a really cool thing to see him
And
back in that role.
We've also got a couple new characters too. We've got we've got David Bautista is also joining.
I
we
saw
have
that.
Jared Leto as well.
I did see Jared Leto
And,
was on there.
A couple other mentionables.
Definitely,
Yes.
definitely. But of course, Ryan Gosling being
Ryan Gosling.
our new Blade Runner, basically. About with Blade Runner, we just want to let everyone know we love the film. We would definitely recommend adding it to your Blu-ray collection if you don't have it yet.
Definitely go out there and pick up a copy.
Definitely. The 30th anniversary Blu-ray edition has a ton of extras and some storyboards and a ton of great stuff. So check it out and follow us here at My Comic Universe and on our social media, right, Steve?
That's right, guys. Check us out, like us, follow us, tweet at us.
Definitely.
All that good stuff.
We'll see you guys next time. Thank
Take
you,
care, guys.
everybody, for joining us, and go see Blade Runner in theaters on October 6th. Thanks again, everyone.
Take care, everybody.